Well, hello everyone. Mike with Spray Jones coming to you with another informative spray foam insulation video. If you're new to this channel, my name is Mike. I am the owner of Spray Jones and I produce and create content on spray foam insulation to educate the industry, the who, what, when, and where of mostly closed cell. We do some open cell, but the reason we concentrate on closed cell is because it can do all sorts of things in all sorts of climates. It's good for cold, it's good for hot. A common problem that we see, today's video will be something very, very common that we see a mistake made at the design drafting phase. And I'm not going to call anybody out here because this is common across North America, and don't let this be your design problem, because you've got your house, your cabin, your second residence, a place you're building up in the hills, okay? And you're drafting people put together this beautiful plan, and it's going to be a simple getaway cottage or a secondary residence, or it could be the primary. And this is what you've got. Let's take a look at this composite. Here is a typical home, a residence, a cabin, something where the entire living space is going to be over top of a garage. Now, the garage is built into the slope of the hill, as we can see here. So when you arrive to the place, you've got cars parked in one, you've got toys and boats and, RVs and quads and what have you in the other. But you're going to go through the door and go upstairs. Upstairs is going to be living space. So this is what your side elevations would look. You'd have a deck out back. Again, you're built into a slope. And you'd have your living space, your bedrooms, your kitchen, everything is on the main floor. And in essence, this lower section down here will become partially your basement. You'll have mechanical and what have you. But what I see is a problem from the insulation standpoint, and this side elevation shows it clearly. Down below, we are going to have the garage. It's going to be unconditioned. But then we're going to have a conditioned area over here where your furnace, your water heater, your HRV, all your mechanical equipment is going to be at the lower level, and it's going to be ducted to fit all of the living space upstairs. And if we zoom in close, we'll see that standard spec calls for an R28 spray foam insulation within what? I-joist cavity after mechanical, plumbing, and electrical. Well, all right. It's great to show that on the drawings, and this is where the heartache comes in. Multi-span I-joist, spray foam in ceiling joists over garage after mechanical and plumbing has been installed. Okay, great, except we got a huge problem here. We have limited height in the garage. Maybe we've got 9, okay, we got 10 feet here. But we've also got headers. See, here's our header. Okay, so here's our header. So then we're going to have hardware for an overhead door. We're going to have a supporting beam, and we're going to have a garage door opener and everything hanging down. The problem is when we go and place ductwork in I-joists are not open web. So the trunk runs and all of the heat and return airs are going to be run lower than this I-joist. So some of the plumbing is going to go through here. And then all of the ducting is going to be hanging down low. So you are going to have to do a drop down ceiling for the spray foam. The spray foam cannot just go up against the floor. How are you going to insulate the ducting? The ducting would all have to be bulkheaded. The bulkheads would all have to be insulated. And all your P-traps, your trunk runs, your tie-offs, it's all going to have to be inside of the insulation. So this is actually designed poorly. This is not designed to accommodate where the insulation is going to go. It's easy to stick an arrow and say, this is where we want it, but it's hard to think it through. And I see this come across my desk a lot. This is a very, very common mistake of drafting. And the homeowners don't pick up on it. The builders don't pick up on it. They say, oh, yeah, the insulation's shown where to place it. And then they don't think about elevations in the garage for height. I've seen garages where they've had no height at all to deal with, and they've had to go and put a very thin amount of insulation up to accommodate still getting the garage doors in. I had one gentleman that was actually going to do exactly this kind of design, and he wanted garage to be fairly tall to accommodate lifts for his cars. We're going to have multiple cars in there and stack on lifts. And I said, well, you don't have any room for the lifts because you're going to have to do a drop down ceiling. So how would we deal with this? Well, the first would be either make a design change and go to an open web truss system that all of the ductwork and all of the plumbing can be passed horizontally through open web trusses. We use open web truss where we are a lot. It is a very, very common building technique product because at 18 inches tall open web truss, you can pass the largest amount of trunk run and ducting through it and still have room for bracing, cross bracing, blocking, all that sort of stuff. But with I-joist, this is 11 7/8 deep. 11 7/8, you have no room. So the ducting would have to go sideways to get to where they need to be to feed this, right? Plumbing would be up inside here. P-traps would be up inside here. And then what are you going to do to get this to be insulated? You're going to have to drop down a ceiling lower, give yourself a backer to spray to, and that ceiling, that drop down design would have to be where your spray foam would go. That means you're going to have to make 2 trips to the job. That means you're going to have to come out and you're going to have to spray foam insulate the rims, the joist ends and the rims, and probably come down this foundation wall until you tie into the elevation height of where you're going to be for your drop down ceiling, right? This wall shows being batted. That's fine. It can be batted. You could tie into it, or you could spray it and terminate the foam here. But this is going to need to be insulated first, because then your drop down ceiling is going to be here, and it's going to close off the rest of the space. Now, if this is where the HVAC is going to be and the mechanical is going to be, this is going to be a sort of a conditioned space. You can skip spray foaming this. But if this is going to be the unconditioned garage side, then this partition would be sprayed. So you'd have an insulated demising wall within the garage assembly. So this side here is warm. This side's cold. This would be spray foamed. This would be insulated with batt or with spray foam, whatever you want, if you're not spraying the whole entire structure. And then your drop down ceiling would have to be at about this height. So your 10-foot ceiling is going to go down to probably an 8-foot ceiling, or for sure a 9. It all depends on how low the ducting is and how tight you can get to it. And then that potentially, when we scroll down, is going to screw up your headers and your overhead doors. And certainly the electrical is going to have to be moved down, and the lighting is going to have to be moved down. It's just not going to be practical to bulkhead all of this. So we see this design problem frequently. The spray foam is a complete afterthought. If I was doing this structure, I would stress that we use open web truss. That would allow us the advantage of one thing. The ducting could go horizontally, and then all of my spray foam would go to the underside of the floor. And there I really like the lower cord being insulated versus trying to crawl the foam around all of the ductwork. The reason being is that when you get into really cold climates, if there's any thin spots or areas that the foam did not crawl around the ductwork, those are areas that you could have condensation or water, or you'd freeze out a P-trap. I like to leave this area warm and air circulating in it, and then drop the ceiling down and treat it like it's like a 2-foot little crawl space in a way. And it's basically a mechanical chase, and spray foam around the perimeter, and then put the foam lower than the ducting. So you have to use some forethought, and I rarely see people thinking it through. If the structure has no choice but to use 11 7/8, then you've got to build your interior heights tall enough to offset for this, right? So your garage doors. So maybe you start going with a 12-foot ceiling height. So your building needs to get taller to offset for the drop down of the ceiling, and that way you're not screwing up and interfering with where your garage doors opener is going to be hanging and where your tracking is going to be hanging. Like I've seen it where they've left no room to put any of that in once the insulation is. So this can be a really, really big problem, and it bites the builder in the butt, bites the homeowner. Nobody thinks it through. All of a sudden the structure is up, they're roughing things in, and then they're phoning the insulation guy, the spray foam insulation guy, and they're saying, all right, give me a quote on spray foaming this. Now, there are fools out there that will think nothing else and just spray foam insulate the underside of this floor. And I'm telling you, it would be a disaster. You cannot leave the ducting uninsulated. You can't leave the water lines uninsulated. You can't just spray foam to the underside of the floor. We've seen this time and time before. You have got to have the water lines, the P-traps, and all of the ductwork on the warm side of the insulation. So that means if it's hanging down, your insulation needs to be the lowest point in the structure for envelope of how to get this sealed up. So either use an open web system, or you're going to have to, this needs to be solved at the design stage, at the drafting table, on the computer. This needs to be educated with the drafting people and the builder. The builder should be catching this right away. The plan should hit their desk and they should say, all right, where are we going to put insulation? Like, how would you insulate this conventionally? You'd have to do a drop-down ceiling. You'd have to with bats. There'd be no room in an I-joist to put batting into it. None. And where are you going to put poly? Where are you going to put board? Where are you going to get continuity of an air seal? You don't have it. So spray foam is the way to deal with this, but this hasn't been drawn effectively to use the spray foam to its maximum, and it's leaving a lot of design changes. So I see this time and time again. Don't let this be the thing that kicks you in the butt, bites you in the butt when you're trying to get your dream put together, especially when you have a lot of plumbing and you've got islands and you've got tubs. Like, you know full well this is just going to be chock full of water lines, P-traps, you name it. Trunk runs. It's going to be very, very, very busy to the fact that there's living space. This isn't just a simple little cabin that's got a few minor things over top of it. So get it designed right, like I've told you, to accommodate the insulation for a drop-down ceiling. You've got to go drop down when it's this busy, okay? And you need to offset your elevations, use open web trusses, and use the height if you don't want to deal with it on site. You've got to have the offsets built into the structure so that you're not trying to modify something that won't work on site. So hope this makes sense. Comment, share, like, and subscribe. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Don't let this bite you in the butt. Learn from what we're telling you. Talk to you soon.